Hello. Hey, hi everyone.
Hi, Amit.
Okay, so let's get started. Just share my screen. Okay. So let's get started from here, right? So like yesterday we were talking about the matrices, right? The way of storing the data in a two-dimensional way, where you can have uh, the rows and columns, but the data can be of same type. So today, so any questions from that? I mean, anything you would like to discuss before I just move ahead?
Amit, can you please show us how to create a matrix using the randif function? Or sorry, runif, the random numbers.
So we have this function over there, matrix. So for random functions, you have the R unit function over here, generates the uniform numbers. Suppose you want to generate 25 numbers between any number, right? You can give that range 10 to 100, right? So this will generate the 25 numbers for you, and I'm defining that I want number of rows equals to 5. So this is going to create that.
Okay, first is nothing but the total count, right? 25 you're giving. I didn't realize that. Okay, let me try that once again. And one more thing, Amit, if I create a matrix using the dim function, right, it is going on like this. If I want to break my code to the next line, what should I include? Any character?
Sorry, you're creating the again.
No, I want to split the lines of code in next line. How can I do that? Is there any possibility here? In Python, we use slash.
No, I didn't get a question. You want to break the code into lines again?
Yeah, I want to split the codes because if you use in the end row, comma dim names, if it will go on like this. I do not want to happen
You,
like that. I want to break the
you just have
code.
to
I mean split. Yeah.
just start it after a comma like this.
No, I tried this, but I got some error like not found. Let me try it once.
Okay. So you just have to make sure that it should end with a comma. That's it. From here it should end. Or you should have a plus sign something. So after commas you can spread it up so it takes the counting.
Okay, here it definitely the comma will come automatically because if it is a matrix. If it is another code of line, should I use comma there?
No, comma is something that will be there everywhere because you will have some any syntax that you will use. So
Mm-hmm.
either there you will have a comma sign or a plus sign, something will be coming over there. So
Okay,
we just split that at the plus or comma sign.
okay.
Amit, are we able to add multiple rows or columns using cbind or rbind? Here yesterday we just used one, right? Adding one row and one column. So instead of we have to add multiple rows and columns. Is it possible?
So you just keep on adding into that. That when you write r byte, no, if you want to add rows. So if you just say the name of the data, the matrix that you would have created, right? So comma, you can give any number of rows over here, right? Suppose you want to give row one, comma, row two. So you can give all those
Okay.
rows together as well.
So separated by commas, right?
Separate by comma, yes.
Okay, yeah, got it.
So now you know what happens is when we talk about data frames, now these are the main source of data which we will be using very the actively over here. So data frames are basically when we talk about these are the table formats in which the data is stored. Okay, these can have the data of different types. Right, like in the matrix, in the vector, we were just working or we were dealing with the data of only one single type. Now this matrix is something that can have a data of variety of data types. Like for example, if I open up an Excel over here, okay. So suppose I want to store the name, I want to store the age, I want to store whether a person is male or not, right? So name is suppose Sam, right? Age is 21, is male. If I say true, yes, he's a male. We have a Rose, age is 22, and for like suppose this is the kind of an information that I want to store, where I have character data also, numeric data also, logical data also. I mean, the data can be of any type. So basically, data frame is a structure in which the data is stored in the row and column format, where you have the proper columns defined, and the data is defined like what type of a data you are going to have in that column. Now, column will definitely have a data of same type, right? Like for example, these every column is like a vector, right? This is one vector, this is one vector, which is being combined together to create a data frame over here. So that is what we call it as data frames in R. So if you have to build that, so let us see how do we create a data frame now. First of all, I'll create a small vectors only. So suppose I create a vector as name. In this, I'm storing the name of the people, right? Suppose name is Harry, Sam, right, Rose. I'm creating this one vector. Then another vector is age. This we are showing the age as 21, 22, 23. And we are saying is male, whether a person is a male or not. So in this, what I've done is I have stored it as true, false. So I've written three vectors right now. So what I can do is I can create a data frame in which I will say, okay, data dot frame. And I would like to store the name, age, and age male. So name is so you see now a data frame is created. And if I want to check it out, so this is how the data looks like. Now this is more like a tabular structure, right? In which the way in the structure in which the data will be coming, the data will be stored. So this is what we call it as a data frame now. Please, you can just try to create it at your ends. Done. So now, when we work with these data frames now, so you will get a lot of inbuilt data frames as well in the R. So if you write this function data, right? So if you run this up, just give me a second. Okay. So what I do now right now is I'll just come over here. If you write data in this, see, it will give you the list of data sets that are already available in your R. These are the inbuilt data sets, right? There are a lot of data set names that you will see. So like, for example, one such data set is iris. Okay. So iris data set, it's a data set which has the information regarding some flower species. So if you want to take a look at it, so here you will see you have, in this you are given sepal length, sepal width, petal width, and what species is it. So there are a lot of data sets that you will see, right? You want to explore another data set, you have empty cards. So what we're going to do now is this data frames that we use. There are a lot of functions and functionalities that we're going to explore on this. The first function that we are going to explore on the data frame is that is view. Right now, view is a function that helps you view this output of a data frame in a proper tabular format. Suppose if you say view, V is in capital, right? If you say view iris, so you see the data comes in a proper tabular structure. So it is much more easier to see and read. Similarly, if you see, it shows you over here that how many columns you have, how many entries you have. So it shows you the rows and columns. You want to count the number of rows. So you have again the end row function. You want to say end row of iris. It will tell you that it has 150 rows. Similarly, if you say n col of iris, it gives you number of columns, right? The number of columns that you have inside it. You have a str function to check the structure of a data frame. If you say str of iris, so it will give you that, it has 150 observations and what is the data type of each variable. So you will be able to see that. we have a function of summary in this, right? If you use summary of iris, it is going to give you the 5 point some in this the quartiles, medians, minimum, maximum, all these values for the numerical variables and the categorical variables that you have. It gives the count that there are 50 data for Setosa species, 50 data points for Virginica, and 50 data points for versicolor. So it gives you the count. And when the variable is numeric, it is giving you the minimum, maximum, median, and quartiles over here. Now, when we talk about slicing and indexing, right? So when we talk about slicing and indexing on a data frame, it also works the same way, the way we had learned it on the matrices, right? The matrices previously, right? Shweta, so what's the use of these functions? As in, I mean, this summary function that I'm showing you, the summary, str, and number of columns and rows. See, these are the functions that help you know about your data frame, right? Like when you want to see how many rows you have, how many columns you have, what's the data type of each column, right? So when you run the structure of iris, so it tells you what's the data type, right? Like it is telling you the sepal length column in that is numeric, it is vector. So you can get to know about your data frame. So when you say summary, it gives you like what is the average sepal length. You can see that first quartile, minimum, and max. If you want to analyze your data, so you can say these are the functions that are going to help you over there, help you out over there, to know about your data, to understand about your data. Okay. Now slicing and indexing, when we talk about this also this works like the same way like we had seen it on the metrics, right? So row and column format. So if I say now that I have the iris data set, on this iris data set, I am saying that I want to see all the rows and column number 2 and 3, right? So it generates that output only, that rows and columns 2 and 3. If you want to wrap this inside the view, you can do that as well, right? If you say view of this, so it will, the same thing will come in a tabular format. So V is in capital, right? So that is one thing. Now, in this, when you work with the data frames, if you write iris like this, right, and you put a dollar sign, so what happens in that case is, it starts giving you all the column names, right? Whatever data columns you have in that data frame, it gives you that. Suppose you select species, so it will give you all the species names. So you have 150 species. So you will see over here that all that data is printed. And as I said, right, every variable is a vector. So it is coming in the vector format only, right? All the values are coming like a vector. You just have to write iris, dollar, and the name of the variable. Okay.
Amit, this petal length, right? What it is trying to convey? The length of all the species, or I couldn't
There are
give
the
it.
data points that they have collected. So what they have done is, so there was a sample of data that was connected, that was collected. So that is what you have. So they took one for the first flower, and it was a Setosa species, and what they found was that the petal width was this, petal length was this, and sepal width and sepal length was this. So these are the attributes of that for the flower that they picked. And they had
Okay,
a second Setosa flower, and this is the petal width, petal length, and the same measurements for that.
okay.
Yes, we have taken 50 samples of three type of species. So 50 samples of this, 50 samples of this, and 50 samples of Virginita.
Is it possible to retrieve only the one species petal length?
Yes, so we'll be doing that.
Okay.
So now this data frame that we created, that's the data frame that we have, right? If you want to do the sorting of the data frame, now the sorting can be done in the same way again. Suppose if I say order, I want to order the iris, right? Now I am saying I would like to sort it. The data set that I have, iris dollar. I want to sort it on the basis of, suppose I say petal, sepal length, right? Where I say decreasing equals to 2. Now what I do is I will use this as an input, like with the same thing that we did in the vectors. I have my data frame that is iris. I'm going to say that I want all the rows in this order, comma, all the columns. If I run this, so we will see now. Let me put it in the view. So you will see our data is coming in the decreasing order of the sepal length. So just try to see it in the broken part, right? So first that data is sorted, so I just use this function that in which order the rows should come, comma, I have said that all the columns. Now, if you want to do some filtering of the data, right? If you want to filter the data, so what we do in that case is we simply say iris. So over here, what you do now is you give the condition. Like for example, you want to see that data where iris dollar species is equals to setosa. So if you write that and you say you want to have all the columns, right? So now it gives you only 50 entries, right? That is 50 entries of the Setosa only, right? So you get that. So you just have to put that condition over here that you want that data where species equals to Setosa. So you have to use 2 equals to sign.
Amit, can you please explain that sorting once again to me? I feel like scratching my head.
So sorting is basically this order function that we have used. So what this order function does is it basically whatever column you want to sort. So it gives you the row numbers of that. So when you run this up, so it gives you the row number that I wanted the data to be sorted in the decreasing order of sepal length, right? So it is saying that the first sepal, the maximum sepal length is coming in the row number 132. Then second is in this 118. So you get the row numbers of that. That in which row, what are the row numbers from decreasing to in the decreasing order of the sepal length. So what these row numbers that we have got, so we are saying that I want to see the iris data set where the rows should come in the sequence that is defined by the order, and then I want all the columns.
Okay, now I'm getting it. In that first order, right, line number 43, you are just okay. By sepal length, you are ordering by descending, and it will give the row numbers, and you're using the same syntax in the view.
Correct.
Okay.
Now what we do is the next thing that I show you over here is right. Like I just use the empty cars data set now, right? So this is more simpler. I mean, a data which has a very simplistic data over here, right? The data regarding the cars. Okay. Now this is again a data frame. Suppose now over here I want to see the data of those cars which have mileage more than 20. Right? Simple data, right? 32 entries. The name of the cars are coming as row names. So what we have is we have the mileage, number of cylinders, all that information is given to us. Suppose I want to see the data of those cars where I am saying view empty cars, dollars, sorry, I will say empty cars, right? I want to see that data where the mileage dollar MPG is more than 20 and I want to see all the columns. So if I run this code, it is going to give me only that data for the data for those cars which have the mileage of more than 20 now, right? So you get that data only where the mileage is more than 20. So there are 11 such cars. Okay. When you filter this data, you can apply, some logical operators as well. So if I say view, right, empty cars, and I am saying I want to see that data where the mileage is more than 20 and you want to make sure that empty cars dollars number of cylinders they are equal to 4. So you can apply more than one condition as well. So now it gives you that data where mileage is more than 20 and number of cylinders are also 4. So you get that data over here. So this is for the AND condition. And if you have to use the same thing for OR, so in that what happen is the operator will change, right? This operator that we are using over here, instead of this, we will be using a pipe operator. So this makes a OR condition. So please, all of you try this out. Right? This and then are you all able to try this out? The multiple conditions, and you can also apply the row numbers if you want, the column numbers. And this only if you want to see only specific columns, so you can just give that column name as well, right? You want to see suppose the column number 1, 3, 5, 7, so you can do that. Right, everyone? Shall I move forward? Okay. So now you know what we do over here, right? So these are the data frames that we have seen.
Amit,
Huh?
I have a question, Amit. Instead of row number, can we go with the row heading? Or
Over
yeah, instead of
column.
C1357, yeah.
How you can do that? You can put the column names also. So like for example, MPG cylinder and displacement. So you will write it like this. MPG. Right, so it will come in the quotes. You want to have this column, you want to have cylinder, so we can do that as well. Right, you want to have gear, so this will also give you the same result. MPG cylinder and gear. So now what we will do is we will explore some of the basic programming skills of R, right? So we have seen that how we can work with these functions, right? Like we can work with the uh, the data structures that we have seen. So now we are going to talk about basic programming skills of the R. Like when I talk about basic programming, like how do we write the if-else conditions, right? So we will talk about that. We will see how do we write the loops, right? Like we have the while loop, and the for loop. So these are the things that we are going to explore now. So we will start off with the if-else conditions. So if-else condition is like, where you want to test based on a condition now, right? Like the same thing that we have seen in the Excel also, SQL also, the same if condition similar we have over here. Just the syntax would be different. So how we write the if conditions in R is, you say if, you give your condition, right? Then you start the brackets, you give your piece of code, then you write else if, you give your condition true, and then you write from here the code of the execution, the code that you have to execute. Then what we have over here is in this last, if you want to give else, so you have this else part also, and you have your code over there. Okay, so this is the syntax of that if-else conditions. So you have to be very careful that it starts with the brackets and the else if starts in the right just next line. Many times we write it like this. That is wrong. It has to start from that same line for the continuation. So like for example, I write a small code right now. Temperature is 27. Okay. Now I want to write a if condition that if the temperature is more than 25, I want to give the output as print hot. Else, I'm saying I want to print cold. So you can do that. So it prints hot now. Based on that condition, it gives you the output. I hope you're able to try it. Like for example, if you want to now check that if the temperature is more than 30, it is hot. If the temperature is between 25 to 30, you want to call it as moderate. And if the temperature is less than 25, you want to call it as cold. So we can write multiple conditions as well, right? So you will say if the temperature is more than 30, so what we do is we say print, say suppose this hot. So else if second condition is temperature is, so suppose first condition fails, so I'm checking if the temperature is more than 25, then what I'm doing is, or maybe greater than equal to 25, I'm going to print moderate, and else we are going to print hot. Oh, sorry, cold. So we can write multiple conditions. So as many conditions as you want, you can keep writing them up in this if condition. Right, everyone? So, right, can you please write a code to check if a number is even or odd, even or odd? Right? See, suppose if I have to write this up, so I take a number as an input, and suppose the number is 5. So what I do is I will put my condition if num, so we have a modulo operator. If number divided by 2, it gives you the remainder as 0, right? That means print even number, else print odd. So otherwise the number is odd. So if I run this now, 5 is an odd number. Okay. Everyone, any questions? Anyone up till here? Anything you would like to ask?
Yeah, how to take a number from the user, like running time number, runtime number?
So for that, we have a function called readLine. So if you say readLine, okay. So what I do is I'm going to say I'm defining a variable, suppose var. So I'm going to say readLine, and I say uh, prompt equals to enter the number. So now what is going to happen is if you run this, okay, so it gives you a message, enter the number. Suppose I enter 5 now, okay,
Yeah.
and I give this. Now what happens is this number that you give, with the help of read line, it will be character format, right? If I'll show you right now, this number will be character type. So just couple of things you have to take care of. This is a character data right now. So you will have to make sure that you convert it into integer, because you can only check the integers data point with the whether they are even or odd. So we have to say var as dot integer. So we have the functions, right? As dot numeric. If you say as dot numeric, so I am saying as dot numeric of var. So it will convert the data into numeric data type. Okay, so maybe let me assign it to the num only. So I'm saying num is as dot numeric of var. So that means 5 value. Now if I run this code, the same thing is going to come out. If I write it over here now, right? So let's just do it from the scratch. So I'm saying I take an input, the user gives 10. I convert that into the numeric format, and then I check is it a even or a odd. So I get even or odd. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Amit, is there any difference like as dot integer and as dot numeric?
Sorry.
While converting the character to numeric, right? Another function named as dot integer popped up, right? Is there any difference?
Yeah, so numeric is basically family, right? It's like a class. So numeric can be integer also, it can be floating also, but integer is just the a number without a decimal. So if you will convert into an integer, so if
Okay.
you had any decimal number with you, right? Like for example, if I say
Okay.
s dot integer, right? So I have the number
Yeah.
like 12.5, right? So it
Okay.
converts it into 12 only. It only keeps that
Okay.
integer
Okay.
part of that.
Okay. Since you convert in that line number, can you just scroll up dot numeric? It will take all the inputs like
Huh,
floating. Okay.
yes. So
Okay.
suppose it's the
Got it.
same thing. I'm saying s dot numeric. I give
Okay.
12.5, so it takes 12.5.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Now what we have is that the next scenario we see over here is that is loops. Right now, loops are something that we use. So loop is something where you have to do the same iteration again and again, right? If there is something that you have to do 10 times, 20 times, 30 times. So instead of writing the code 30 times, I will put all those things inside a loop. So we have two type of loops. One is for loop. So we will start with that. So for loop is it's a type of a loop in which we define that how many number of times do you want to do a specific thing. Okay. So let's do this. Suppose I write for I in 1 to 10. Okay, that means I am saying that I am declaring a variable I. Now that variable I is going to take 10 values. And let's write a code. So I say print hello. So I'm just first of all giving you the example, then I will explain you all this also. So what this will do is this will print 10 times hello for me. Okay, it has printed hello 10 times for me now. So I just wrote the code once, but I have defined in this that I want to run it 10 times. So that is how basically a loop works, where you want to do something number of times, you define that, and inside that code you give your logic. So the syntax for that is you say for, you define that the increment over here, and then what you do is in this curly braces you write your code. So now how the things work. So for example, this increment that we define, how we define it is we have to create a vector, right? So suppose I create a vector over here. I say vector 279. I've given three values in this vector. I say for x in VEC, right? So when I say for x in VEC, that means this loop is going to run the number of values you have inside this vector. So I have three values in this, so the loop will run three times. So if I say print, I say again, suppose good morning. So what this going to do is it's going to print good morning three times for me, one, two, and three. So you have to define a vector to basically define that how many number of times you want to run the loop. So how this loop works is when the first time the loop will run, the x will pick up the value as 2. Next time when the loop runs, second time the value will pick up the value as 7, and third time it will pick up the value as 9. So that is the sequence in which the loop is going to run.
Amit, is like for each iteration, the variable x will be holding the vector items, right?
Hmm.
Okay, if I want to print all the vector items, should I give print of x or?
X, yeah, print of x. So if you just write this over here,
Okay,
so x will not come in the quotes. You simply write x over here now. So
okay, in
it
order
will
to
print
get the,
those
okay,
three items, 270.
okay, got it, thank you.
Okay. So now let's suppose I want to print a table of 5. So what I can do is, let's say I define for I in, so this variable can be anything, right? A, B, C, X, Y, Z, whatever you want. I see for I in 1 to 10, right? So this is also vector. So instead of declaring a variable, I am defining the vector in this function only. So I am saying, what do I want to do? I want to print, so I am planning to print a table of 5. So I am saying print 5 into I, right? So first time when the loop runs, the value of I will be 1. So that will be 5 into 1, that is 5. Next time the loop runs, the value of I will be 2, that is 5 into 2. So if I now run this over here, see, it gives me that print the table of 5 for 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and I get that output. Hadi, Ara. Listen. Ready, man. Right, everyone? Any questions up till here? Karsha, Anusha, Deepa.
Yeah, I don't know whether it is valid or a silly question. See, if the vector contains the string, right, instead of numerics, A, B, C, still it works. If I
Ah, it
want
will
to
work.
print, if I want to print high, will it take?
Yep, so suppose it is D1, this is D2, right? So this is D3.
Okay,
So I create this, so it does D1,
okay,
D2.
okay. Okay, that many number of times if I want to print high, instead of printing the vector items, it will still work, right?
Yes. If you print high over here, it will print 3 times high for you.
Okay, depending upon the count of vector items. Okay,
Vector is we are defining for two purposes. One is the number of iterations that I want. So
okay,
number of iterations, so if there are 3 values, it will run
yeah,
3 times.
okay.
And if you want to use that value also inside the loop, then according to that you will define the values.
No, sorry, second point I didn't get actually.
Second one is, if you want to use those values also of the loop somewhere, like
Okay,
in this table, right? In this table, I use that value. That first time the value will be 1, so 5 into 1.
one, yeah. Okay,
So you
for
can,
each iteration, the value changes, right? Okay,
if you want to choose that one, if you want to choose that value, you can define the values accordingly, so that it's that
okay,
variable you want to use in that.
okay, getting it. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. So I think this is where I think we can stop for now today, because we have done a lot of stuff today, right? So data frames and conditions, if and the loops. So tomorrow what we will do is, tomorrow we will do some questions on the loops, and we will explore the another function, that is we will explore the while loop, and then we will be starting off with the data manipulation using the R.
Amit, one last question in data frames. You said so many already available data sets like irises for the flower. So I couldn't get the general use case of it. Is it like what are all the functions we can use in this particular data set, or how we can retrieve the data by using the view function? Because everything seems to be very new.
Which function?
No, the iris is one particular data set you picked from data of. You said so many data sets available. Iris is one particular data set. Can I assume that?
So Iris is one of the data sets that I use.
Data set, okay. From that particular data set, using the $sign, you are extracting whatever the attributes you want. Is that right?
Yes, you want to pick any column, you want to see the
Okay.
number of. So I was using that data set to just to explore those things. Like similarly, we have an empty cast data set. So if you want to see the number of rows in that, so
Yeah.
I can number of rows of empty cars. So it will give me the number of rows in that. Right? If I say str structure of that, so it gives you the structure of the data set.
No, structure I actually couldn't get, because if I give the summary, it is giving some points which I can able to understand what is the minimum value in this data set, what is the maximum value, what is the mean average, everything I got. But structure I couldn't get exactly 100%.
Structure is just that it is just telling you that in that data set, like empty
Okay.
cast data set, it is telling you that that's a data frame.
Mm-hmm.
It has 32 observations, that means 32 rows, and
Okay.
11 columns, 11 variables, having 11 columns.
And the
And
things
then,
which are, these are the columns, MPG, cylinder, okay.
then it is telling you for each column that MPG, it is numeric type and the sample data. Cylinder, it is numeric and the sample data.
Sample data, okay.
So just
It is
that.
giving count of rows, and for each column, what is the data type and its sample data. Is that it?
Correct.
Okay. And view function is just to view what are all the things you require in a tabular format. Is that right?
Basically, by default, the output comes in the console window, which becomes little messy to see. So
Yeah.
to make everything better, we use view function to see it in a tabular format.
Okay. Got it. Maybe I can work in more data sets like empty cars. We can practice, and I hope I can get a better picture.
So anyone else, any other questions? Were you all able to attempt those metrics questions? I hope that I gave. And maybe just give me 1 second. Let me just share the one more exercise. Just give me a moment. So I've shared 3 assignments, one for the data frames, one for the conditional statements, and one for the general vectors and all that we studied. So you can try the questions on these 3 assignments. Okay. Okay, thank you. Thanks everyone.
Okay, thank you. Bye all.
Thank you. Bye.